Hello, this is Carrie again, and I thought I would do a video for you on sharpeners because a lot of times people ask what kind of sharpener they can use, and they end up spending a lot of money looking for the right sharpener. And so I thought I would share the results of some of my experiments and my research. So what I have here is I have a number of the different sharpeners that I got. I got this from Faber Castell. This, I believe, is QUM. This is another brand that people like. This is Palomino. And one of these is Alvin and the other one is Mobius. But as you can see, they look pretty much exactly the same. So one of the most important thing, these are all, as you can see, these are all manual sharpeners. But for me, the most important thing that I've seen in my experimentation, oh, and one more, and I have this Prismacolor sharpener that I like and that you guys have seen in a previous video. So the most important thing that I think you need in a sharpener is you need a strong, sharp metal blade. And I like this one. I really love this Bullet Sharpener. I saw this mentioned, and one of my friends is an architect, and she mentioned this sharpener to me. So I went out and I got one, and I loved it so much that I told a friend of mine how much I loved it, and she wanted it, so I gave it to her, and then I ordered two online from two different brands, but they're basically the same thing. These are called the Bullet Sharpeners. And the thing about these two sharpeners, both of these kinds, is I think that these are more for drawing pencils, because I've used the Palomino very well with my regular drawing and writing sharpeners, and they worked really well. But when I tried them with the color pencils, they don't fit quite right, and I'll show you in a second. And I got this for my Prismacolor because the Prismacolors do tend to break, and the other ones make a very sharp dent, and this lets me make a more blunt end instead of a sharp end for the Prismacolors, and that works really well. I'm actually going to break a little bit of this off so I can show you. I know I hate doing that, but so I can show you how this works on this sharpener. So and then this one also has that metal blade that I said is pretty much the main thing that you need for a good sharpener, is you need that nice solid metal blade. So I also prefer a metal body, and this one has that, which is what I really like about it. But what this Prismacolor sharpener has, and I think that this sharpener in particular is a must if you use the Prismacolor pencils, because you do get a chance to make that blunter end. And I feel like the Prismacolor pencils, because they're not bonded to the lead from top to bottom, they have a tendency to break very easily, as you just saw. And by having this blunter end, it sort of lets you have less lead exposed, and because you have less lead exposed, you have a slightly lower chance of having a breakage. So as you can see, I'm getting quite a good bit out of this on here, and it's going pretty fast. And the other thing you can do if you're having problems is you can leave the pencil stationary and just move the sharpener. I don't have as good coordination with the hand, so I end up just using this hand and just I'm going faster than I really should, but you really shouldn't go super fast with these. So as you can see, this gives me, even though I broke it off, this gives me a very nice end that I can work with from this Prismacolor end. So it is blunter than the ones that you get, but it's not like unusable. Like, this is a really nice end. So if you have the Prismacolor Premier, I pretty much recommend this as your go-to sharpener. This sharpener is probably the most expensive of the lot. This, I believe, is anywhere between $4 and $10 depending on where you buy it, so it does vary a bit, but you can get a good deal on it. I think I saw Dick Blick had this for free if you brought one of the Prismacolor sets. So So if you have the Prismacolor Premier, I think that this is the one to go. Prismacolor has a green sharpener. I haven't tried the green sharpener, but from what I've heard, it's not as good as the black sharpener. So if you have Prismacolor Premier, you definitely want to get this sharpener for that slightly blunter end. So that's the Prismacolor Premier. Now, if you have, and what I actually like about this sharpener too, is that you can use it for the pastel pencils. So like pastels, you don't really want to get a super sharp point because they're pastels and they're soft. But with this, you can, you can use it and you can get, you can get in there without getting too blunt a point. See that? That's really nice. So you can do that with the pastel pencils without having too much of your pastel exposed, because pastels are quite soft in there. So those are your, so that's your Prismacolor, that's the sharpener that I would use for your Prismacolor pencils if that's the one you have. If, however, you have any of the other brands, Faber Castell, Caran d'Ache, even Crayolas, this is just the end that I broke off. I really recommend this one, although you can use any of these other ones. You can use this one. This is a magnesium. I personally don't really feel the need for a, you see this one, it's, you kind of have to pull it a little bit harder, which is why I don't like this one as much. Matter of fact, I'm going to say don't get this one. I'm going to say don't get this one, because these are great pencils and I've never had a problem sharpening them. So I say, you know what? I was going to say it's okay to get this one, but I'm going to say I personally would pass on this, because this is the cheapest of the lot. I think this was 99 cents. And frankly, if you're spending, up to $5 a pencil with your Caran d'Ache and up to $3 a pencil for your Polychromos, don't cheap out on a sharpener. You don't need to spend $100 on a sharpener, but don't cheap out. So I say pass on this one. You know what? I'm going to say that one. I was going to say it was slightly recommended, but I'm going to say don't even bother with this. This, as I said, is more for sharpening the Palomino pencils, which I actually found worked really well. But this one also is more for the pencils, because if you try to stick a color pencil in there, you'll see that it doesn't quite fit and it moves around and it doesn't give you a super good fit in here. So you see how, I don't know if you can see, but you see how it moves around in there, and I don't really like it. And I also don't like the fact that it's hard to hold on to it, and it's also hard to move the sharpener around with this, the way that it's shaped. So as much as this is one of the ones that was recommended, this was actually the one that was recommended to me by an art store employee. I see, if you have a lot of drawing pencils, then sure, get this. But if you have mostly colored pencils, I would say this is probably not the one, and I don't even think that that's the intent, because these are the Castell 9000 are their drawing pencils. So I don't even think these are intended for colored pencils. I said listen to them and don't use these for your colored pencils. All right, now for the bullets. So we had a little bit of a problem sharpening the bullets with the QUM. I may have to move this aside a little bit just because it's so shiny and it feels like it might be glaring a little bit. But I love this. If you go in here, see how smooth that is. And you can totally move the pencil around here and you get that nice clean line. Look how nice that is. And look what a sharp point you get with no damage to the pencil itself. And that was just me and my technique. But if you have a better technique, you can get, and look at that point. And I could have gotten even sharper than that, an even sharper point. But you see how quickly that got that point too, compared to how much work we had to do with the Prismacolor Sharpener. And what I like about this one is, hold on, let me try to get that a little bit out. Okay, there you go. What I like about this one, you see how I got an even sharper point, is you can decide how sharp of a point you want to get. But the other thing I like about this one is you see how much lead is exposed and how shiny it is. But you see how you're not overly exposing the wood. Like, you're not exposing more wood than you need to get that point. So I really like that. And I've noticed that when you sharpen it yourself, if you're drawing, it's one thing, you know, like I've seen some people who mainly draw and who don't use like adult coloring books, and they'll, you know, pull out the lead and then just have it that way, where you have all this lead exposed. I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing when you have these color pencils, because these are actually kind of soft, and that's part of what you want for the color pencils. But this is a lovely sharp point, and these sharpeners are not that expensive. I got them for like $5 each, but you can get them for even less than that. So they range anywhere from, we're gonna say $5 to $10. $10 is the absolute most I've seen them. Both of these brands, Alvin and Mobius, as you can see the sharpeners, I can't even tell the difference. I was going to compare the difference between the two brands, but I can't tell which is which. Neither one of them has, that I saw, has a maker mark on there, but they're called the Bullet Sharpeners because they do kind of, from this angle, look a little bit like a bullet. So you can, if you want to, instead of moving the pencil, you want to move the sharpener. This makes it super easy to do that. So, and you saw how bad my hand-eye coordination was before. So you see how super easy it is to do that here. So I really like that. And you can see how it starts to very quickly give you a nice sharp point. And you're not damaging, but I still prefer to, just because it's easier on me with my coordination. And I do like to just take it out a little bit. Some people had concerns about what do you do after you've sharpened. Let's say you do a dark color. So let's say this is about as sharp as I wanted that point to be, and then I move to a light color. I don't do anything special. Just shake that out and then just go back in. And that's it. See? And you go back in and you're not really depositing any of the blue on the orange. So for me, for adult coloring books, and if you spent a lot of money on your pencils and you want a good sharpener, but you don't want to spend a fortune, or you prefer manual over electric, I do prefer manual over electric sharpeners, you can get one of these bullet sharpeners for $5 to $10. Get yourself one or two. I got two because I lose things all the time, and also because one thing I don't like about these, even though they have that, when I'm sitting on a table like at Starbucks, it does tend to roll off the table, specifically at Starbucks. But these really shouldn't roll, but I find that they sometimes do roll. Again, that's not a big deal. Some people don't like the fact that you don't have a reservoir, but I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I want to get some of that lead out. But these are all brass too. These are all brass except for the metal blade, which is replaceable. You can get the metal blades. I think the metal blades are definitely in the $10 range for a whole bunch of metal blades, but you really only need the one. When you need to put in a new blade, you just unscrew it and you put in a new blade and then you rescrew it. Super easy. I've done it for my Palomino once. It's not something that I find myself doing very often, even though I color a lot. You can, like I said, you can use these for pretty much all your pencils. This size hole is perfect for your color pencils. I highly recommend it. So if it was up to me, knowing what I know now, would I have spent $10 on these? Well, $10, I needed this because I have the Prismacolor, and also because I have the pastel pencils, and I think that this is actually okay for your pastel pencils because that blunt end. But otherwise, I would say pass on this. These are for a different kind of pencil. These are also for a different kind of pencil, and just stick with the all brass. They do have, actually, one last thing is the Mobius, I think, and maybe also the Alvin has another all brass sharpener that's kind of like a disc, and that is two holes. It has a blunter hole and a more and a sharper hole. I haven't seen that in store, which is why I don't have one, and online it seemed kind of expensive. I saw it for like $13 online, which, as much as I love those, just to try the sharpener, it was a little bit too much. But if it uses the same blade, and since it's also all brass, I assume that that works as well too. But I really like this bullet for if you have a tough spot. You can move the sharpener around, or you can move the pencil around, but you are supposed to, in theory, you're supposed to move the sharpener around and not the pencil. But whatever, I'm a grown-ass woman, I do what I want. So yeah, but anyway, in the end, I really recommend these bullet sharpeners. And I think that if you've you know, if you do adult coloring books and you've never heard of them, I think they're worth seeking out. I know some people prefer to go to their Michaels or their Staples and see what they have. You are not going to find these at Staples. I'm sorry, I looked. You're not going to find these at Michaels. You're not going to find these at Hobby Lobby. You are going to have to go to an art store. You are going to have to, or go online. However, it's totally worth it, because the frustration that it saves you, even the time that it saves you sharpening. You saw how long it took me to get the Prismacolor Sharpener to do all this, and you saw how quickly I was able to get this nice sharp point on this. And I do love the fact that you can stop, like say I was happy with this and this not being super sharp, you can stop right here, or you can keep going and get a sharper point. And I love that about these. Whereas with the Prismacolors, I felt like there's a point at which the Prismacolor wants you to be. You know, in theory, all pencil sharpeners are like that, but I really love how this one sort of makes it work, and the designing on this is really well. I love the fact that it's all brass, so despite being really tiny, it's actually quite heavy. These, you know, this weighs like tissue. You see how this falls? This falls real hard. You can hear it. You see how hard that is, and then you hear it. You hear the difference. So these are really like nice heavy sharpeners that are really substantial. So despite the fact that they're so small, they're totally worth getting. So if you have the Polychromos or even Crayolas, and you're looking for a nice sharpener that's not too expensive, that's manual, get these. Don't worry about the fact that they don't have, hey buddy, that's my cat. Hey buddy, stop moving the camera around. Don't worry about the fact that they don't have a canister. Stop, buddy. That's baby Stewie. Just moving the camera around. Hold on. If you're gonna be in camera, Stewie, you're gonna be in camera. You're not gonna be just moving the camera around. Sorry about that. Don't worry about the fact that they don't have a little basket. You can stop it. Okay. It's almost dinner time. That's why he's acting like this. So we're almost done anyway. So don't worry about the fact that they don't have a reservoir. Just get like a little piece of tissue, or get some paper, or whatever, or just your trash can, and just sharpen it over the trash can. It doesn't make a big mess. As you can see, it's very efficient at getting just as much as it needs to, and not a bit more. So overall, I highly recommend going out of your way to get these. Put them in your shopping cart when you place your next Amazon order for books or whatever. Add these to your order. So highly recommend this. Yes, I know you kind of have to go out of your way to do it, but I'm telling you, it's totally worth it. You'll never want to go back to these. You'll never want to go back to these sharpeners again. You really won't. So anyway, this is my sort of video on sharpeners, and my opinion on sharpeners is I love the Bullet. I love the fact that the blade is replaceable. So if the blade starts to get dull, no worries, just put in a new blade. I love the fact that they're all brass, so it feels nice and heavy. So for me, I think it's totally worth it. Alright, so enjoy my video on sharpeners, which turned into a slight infomercial for the Bullet Sharpener. But hey, if other sharpeners want me to praise them this much, then they gotta get this good. It's their fault for not being as good. Alright, thank you. Have a good day. Bye.